What is your favorite sound?
Besides the crying victims and when I step in the ring, probably like a baby's laugh.
Welcome to Outside the Ring. I'm your host, Lexy Nair, and today I have the Murderhawk monster, Lance Archer. All right, so I gotta ask the first question. Who has the better braid?
Well,
I mean,
I've got two, and have colors in mine.
you're right. You're right. What is your biggest strength?
My biggest strength, I think, is to brush off the little things. I think it's the ability to kind of just go, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. Just got to keep moving forward.
What is your biggest weakness?
To that same point of my biggest strength, my biggest weakness is being a little impatient sometimes. And usually it's with the small things. It's like, I can't find my keys. Where's my phone? You know, I can't unlock the door in one try. And I'll lose my mind and break the window because I can't unlock the door one time. But you like I say, if it's a big thing, I get in a car wreck and nobody's dead, then I'm like, it'll get fixed. But can't get in my house. I'm like, and I break the door.
What is your favorite sound?
Besides the crying victims and when I step in the ring, probably like a baby's laugh.
What motivates you to give it your all every time you're out in the ring?
Because I guess I fear failure, and I don't want to fail myself, my family, my friends, and the time that I put into the business of professional wrestling, 20 and a half years, and I'm still trying to prove myself. So I think that fear of failure pushes me to be successful.
What is your spirit animal?
A werewolf.
Ooh, nice. Not a wolf, but a werewolf. Why?
Just like the Murderhawk monster, it's a mythical creature. And I think I've always liked the idea, like people are like, what would you rather be, a vampire or a werewolf? And I'm like, a werewolf, absolutely. Because you still can go out in the day and you get to eat regular food and things like that. But then you can turn into this crazy monster and just destroy everything and everyone. And I think that's kind of my spirit animal.
So I know you've spent a lot of time in Japan. Do you have a favorite food that you would order in Japan? And can you say it in Japanese?
One of my favorite foods ever to eat in Japan, which always throws Americans off specifically, is it's called basashi, and it's raw horse meat. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
What?
It's so, when it's prepared the right way, it's sauced, it's served cold, you have a little dipping sauce. It's just smooth and beautiful.
How many bones have you broken?
Bones, none. I've been amazingly lucky. I mean, I've probably cracked my fingers and little things like that, but I've never had broken leg, broken arm. I did have a back surgery in 2017, but it wasn't for a broken back. I had severe herniation at my L5-S1, so that's where the disc is compressed so badly that they couldn't see the nerve ending, and they had to go and do what they call a microdiscectomy, where they shaved the herniation off of the protruding nerve ending. So pretty intense stuff.
How long were you out for that?
Out of wrestling, probably not as long as I should have been. I probably came back too soon, but I didn't re-injure myself or anything of that nature. I just, every athlete wants to get back into it as fast as they can. 9 months.
As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Marine biologist.
So how did this happen? Again, opposite ends of the spectrum.
I decided I didn't want to be eaten by a shark. And then, I got into athletics. And when I was a little kid, that was where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I love swimming. I love going to the ocean. I love learning about the whales and the dolphins and the sharks and whatever other animals that were in the water. But then as I grew older and I got into athletics and I started playing football became my dream. Wrestling didn't even come along until after I got out of football. So, wrestling was kind of my last thing that I got into, but it has become my most successful thing in life.
What is a moment from your past you wish you could relive?
That's a hard question to ask because there's not anything in my past that I'm just man, I wish I could go back there. I mean, I guess you could kind of put a whole era of my life, and that would be college. Just because, and not the school itself. I worked on 6th Street in Austin, Texas. And so I worked in the nightclubs and things like that. And just the time there, the people there, seeing people and the craziness that went on 6th Street, and just some of the debauchery that happened while I was out there. I mean, like I said, just kind of going back to that free-minded, future-referenced era where, you know, everything was in front of me while I was just enjoying the time that I was in at that moment.
What is the most recent show that you have binge watched?
Not really a binge watcher, but I did kind of binge watch the last season of Cobra Kai. So
Everybody says that is a fantastic show. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
yeah, I mean, have you seen the original movies? Probably too young for that.
No.
And I think that's what connects with a lot of people is because the original movies, it's the original characters told with a different story beyond what the movies were, but kind of in a different light. How did their lives turn out? Things like that. And then they relive pretty much all the moments from the original movies, but like I said, in an updated what's happening now type fashion.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps resonate. And then obviously with the new generation of the fighters and the Cobra Kai and the Miyagi Dojo and those guys and that thing about the show. So if you've seen the original movies, which that's what you need to go do first, I think the connection there once you watch the series is absolute.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have 3 dogs and a cat.
What are their names?
Well, our cat's real name is Boomer Jack, but we just call him Asshole because he's an asshole all the time. Like, we'll sleep all day long, and as soon as you go to bed, he's up, meow, meow, meow. It's like he doesn't meow at all, ever, any other time until you go to bed, and then he's all by himself, and he's like, hey, where'd you guys go? Wake up, wake up, wake up. And then the 3 dogs, we have Isabel. Isabel is a little Chihuahua. We have Carl, Kaiju Carl is what I call him, but we just call him Carl. Carl! And he's a dachshund. And then there's Buster Boy, who's what I believe is a Labrador Wiener Dog mix. We call him a Labrador.
What an interesting mix. Wow.
He was a Craigslist wiener dog, so we thought we were getting a wiener dog, and it was not. He's what he is, but he's the cutest damn thing ever.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Pour Some Sugar on Me.
What makes you smile the most?
When you get through that match that you just know you tore the house down. And it's just that relief moment at the end of it where everything happened the way you wanted to, the crowd reacted the way you wanted it to, you know that you just succeeded in the best way you possibly could, but then it's all over, so you get to relax and enjoy it. That moment is a really cool moment.
So I know you often say, everyone dies. Have you ever wondered what
dies?
That's what it is, right? Everyone dies.
Oh, you're gonna make me teach you what the actual phrase means by the actions itself. It's everybody dies. Listen to the song.
Everybody dies, yes.
Comes out right on the top. Says everybody dies. I can't sing again. I've told you about that.
Have you ever wondered what death would be like?
Yes. But I have a faith in Christ and God, and I'm not afraid of death. I'm no perfect human being by any sense. I'm no saint by any way. So don't anyone take that as that being. But I believe in God as my Lord and Savior, and I believe when I die that I'll be taken care of.
What was the very first concert you ever went to?
The only concert that I've ever actually been to was Marilyn Manson, but it has a wrestling connection. So this was circa 2002, 3 maybe, a long time ago. You were a little kid. So we did a wrestling show at a concert event in Dallas called the BFD, and we were one of the side stages as wrestling. And so, you know, they had a main stage with music, they had a side stage with music, and then they had a side stage which was wrestling. And Manson was the headliner of the show. And the cool story behind that is, so we do several wrestling matches because, you know, they'd have the main acts on the big stage, right, and then they'd go to break, and then side stage, and we'd have matches in between. Well, my match was in the main event. So, you know, there's just a sea of people waiting to go onto the amphitheater and wait for Manson to play. We have this match, and we're doing everything, and we get done, and again, we're waiting. We're going to go watch Manson and whatnot. And somebody comes over to us while we're sitting there kind of putting all the wrestling stuff away. And they're like, hey, are you guys with the wrestling? And we're like, yeah, we are. And they're like, so I'm with Marilyn Manson, and he was watching behind the fence because the fence was literally behind the ring where all the green rooms were. Right. And I guess he heard us and came out and was watching us through the fence while we wrestled. And he sent somebody to tell us that he really enjoyed it and told us we kicked ass.
If you could pursue a profession outside of professional wrestling, what would it be?
Because I enjoyed football so much when I was in high school and going into college, that was kind of where I was going. I have an English degree from Texas State University. It was Southwest Texas when I was there. It's transferred into Texas State University now. But I probably would have been a teacher and a coach.
What is your biggest fear?
Failure. I've worked my whole life to try to be a success. I'm constantly kind of overlooked in different ways, even as tall and big as I am. You're overlooked in a lot of different ways. So I'm always trying to prove myself, whether it's in the business or life or whatever. And I have no desire to fail. So I'm always trying to push myself forward to be a success at whatever I do, whether it's wrestling, just life, family, friends, whatever.
What is your least favorite household chore?
Making the bed. I don't understand why anybody makes the bed. You're going to go get back in the bed. So
I make the bed every single morning.
Yeah, it seems to be a woman thing. You make the bed. As a man, I'm just like, I'm going to be back in it in a few hours, so I'm good.
Yeah, what does it matter? Do you have any warm-up rituals before you get in the ring?
I pray. That's probably my only ritual, something that I do on a consistent basis. Every time that before a match, I get on my knee and I pray. Just for safety of health and moving forward in life, and the possibility, talking about death, if death comes, nobody can stop it, because what happens? Everybody
dies.
There you go.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Aliens, with Sigourney Weaver, the sequel to the original Alien movie. So just a badass, cool, fun movie. Aliens, people dying, shooting things, blowing up things.
What is your favorite country to visit?
I've spent so much time in Japan.
Right.
I've made friends and family and things like that. I think just because of the connection I made there with the people and the culture, I'd have to say Japan. I also have some family in Australia, and just being over there a few times and seeing the beautiful, amazing country that Australia is. Those have to be my top two.
Last question of our interview. What is one misconception about you? It's very loaded.
Yes. I think the fun part about being the Murderhawk monster is sometimes people expect that all the time. So I think the misconception is that maybe I'm just walking around the streets and kicking people in the face and putting them through ceilings and stuff. And then when they meet me and have any kind of a decent conversation, they're always like, huh, I didn't know that. I'll give a quick story to that effect. So I was in Japan one time, and one of the things about being in Japan is there are sponsors, and sponsors are great. Anybody that's been there, they're just wrestling fans that have a lot of money, and they want to hang out with the wrestlers. So they'll take you and wine and dine you to whatever degree you want, whatever kind of food you want, however many drinks you want, and they just want the chance to hang out with you. So I got invited out with this one sponsor, and we're going out, we're eating our food, and it's amazing food, and we're drinking, and we're just having an amazing time, right? And the sponsor himself is kind of looking kind of sad and upset, and he doesn't speak any English really, so I don't know what's wrong with him. And usually the sponsors in the Japanese culture, especially when they get outside of the business world, are very loud and just people, because they have to be so controlled in their business environments and their professional environments. When they get outside of that, they let loose. So when he was being very quiet, it was kind of like, what's going on? What's the deal with this guy? So I asked one of my friends, one of the Japanese friends, I was like, hey, what's wrong with him? He's like, maybe a little bit sad. And I was like, why is he sad? He's like, Archer-san, not the same. I'm like, wait, what was going on here? Archer-san's not the same. He goes, he think Archer-san just come in and kick people and drinking I like to have my whiskey cokes and just chill. Right. And I'm not there pounding whiskey cokes and losing my mind and acting crazy. And he had this envisionment of old school, you can look these guys up, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody and guys like that, who just, especially back then, because they could get away with anything because there wasn't the social media presence that exists in the world today. He expected that. He expected me to come in and slap people and take people's drinks and just reach over and grab people's food. And he just wanted me to be this destructive force that he thought I was in the ring, but out in a public setting in a restaurant. And he was sad that I wasn't that. He was sitting in the corner, just sulking, eating his food, not talking to anybody. And so I didn't go to a full degree, but I did start messing around. So I even asked my friend, I was like, hey, can I slap you? And he's like, yeah, please, no pain. So I just reached over at one point, we stopped talking and set aside for one punch, and we go, wow. And his eyes just lit up, and he was like, oh, which means kind of wow. And like then he kind of lightened up and he got into it. And we all had a good time.
Well, I had an awesome time. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me on.
I will catch you guys next time on Outside the Ring. Stay tuned.